Hey everyone, what is going on? And welcome back to another meta guide. So the Master League Premier Classic begins tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the Open Ultra League, which will be continuing on for another week. But yeah, the Master League Premier Classic, unfortunately, this is going to be the last season where we have the Classic Cups. And for the Master League Premier Classic, basically you're not allowed to use any Legendaries, no Mythicals, no Ultra Beast, and no Pokemon that were powered up with XL candies. So even if it was powered up to level 42, you can't use it. Not a single XL can be put into those Pokemon. But yeah, so level 40 and below. So yeah, this is probably the league I'm going to be playing, Open Master League. I have some Pokemon I could build, none of the Legendaries. I have I could build like a Dragonite, I could build a Metagross, things like that. But I can't build the Legendaries because I don't raid for XL candies. Just a personal choice of mine. If you do, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, I only use free passes on raids unless if I want a shiny, if it's a new shiny. But either way, we're taking a look at the Master League Premier Classic. And let's just go ahead and dive right into it and see what we got going on for us. So for the S rank, we do have Florges, definitely going to be one of the best Pokemon. Of course, Charm is a really good move. Florges does not have Charm, but like Charm in general from like Togekiss or Sylveon, really powerful. But if you're looking for a non-fairy Charm move, Fairy Wind, Florges is going to be the way to go. It gets to the moves fast, Moonblast. It also has Psychic, Disarming Voice. Probably want some coverage for you, right? Probably want Moonblast and then Psychic. I mean, Disarming Voice I think is good, but you know, probably go for the coverage move with Psychic. But yeah, I mean, definitely a really strong Pokemon for this meta, and I actually used it with success in the previous Master Premier Classic, which I think was last season, right? I think we had it last season. Then we have Dragonite, really strong Pokemon. Of course, Dragonite gets walled by Fairy types, especially if you're going with the Dragon Claw and Superpower moveset, which I assume most trainers probably will be going with. Hurricane is an option to hit the Fairy types, but other than that, yeah, Fairies wall it, but it's really powerful. If it's not going up against a Fairy type, it's doing really well. At least the Superpower allows it to really have play against Steel types. So yeah, I mean, it's really strong Pokemon, and a Pokemon you will definitely see. Then we have Gyarados. Gyarados does well against a lot of popular meta Pokemon, for example, Metagross, because it's going to be resisting the steel attacks, right? It resists the Earthquake. Some people do opt to run Psychic on Metagross, but I don't see that too often. I see it occasionally, I guess, and I have seen it in the past. But yeah, most movesets, yeah, probably not going to have to worry about that when it comes to the Gyarados. Waterfall is great, Dragon Tail is great, Dragon Breath is great. So it really depends on your team and which one you want. I was using it with Waterfall. Just to do well against like the Excadrill and other ground types. I personally really like the Waterfall moveset. And then Aqua Tail and Crunch is the moveset I would go with. I also have seen Hydro Pump, so you can catch you know, opponents off guard or even outrage, and that definitely helps because a lot of trainers do not shield the Gyarados because they do expect the weaker moves like Aqua Tail and Crunch. So if you want to go that route, if you want to surprise like a Fairy user like Togekiss or Florges, Hydro Pump will be doing a lot, and you could flip some of those matchups depending on if you land it, and you probably will land it. So that is an option for you, but I still like the Crunch and Aqua Tail moveset. Then Snorlax. Snorlax is a great safe swap. You know, we do have fighters in this meta, but fighters are not super common, to be real with you, right? They're not. I mean, it's not like you see them all the time. We have Machamp and Conkeldurr. Is that it? Like for the counter users, I think that might be it. I'm looking at the list. I mean, there might be others you see, like spicy picks, but for the most part, you really don't have much to worry about. And even if they do have like a Machamp in the back or something, you know, the Body Slam's still doing a good chunk of damage. So Snorlax, definitely a great safe swap. Yeah, definitely a fantastic Pokemon. Probably see it with the Superpower Body Slam moveset, but, you know, Earthquake, even Outrage to surprise the Dragon types is good. Then we have Metagross. Metagross, one of the best Pokemon, of course, with that Meteor Mash attack. Absolutely insane damage. You know, I like the Meteor Mash Earthquake moveset. We have I did mention Psychic a little bit. Could be if you want to go for the little catch people off guard to hit like the Gyarados. But even then, I mean, Meteor Mash still does a lot to Gyarados anyway. So like honestly, I like the Meteor Mash Earthquake moveset, even though Gyarados does resist all those moves. I still like that moveset. Definitely a very powerful Pokemon. Obviously going to be walling the Fairy users because they only have moves that Metagross resist, right? Like Togekiss, Sylveon, Florges. So Metagross is a great Pokemon. Alright, so that's going to be the S tier. We're moving on to the A tier. We have Garchomp. Garchomp does have Dragon Tail as well as Mudshot. Both of them really strong. Mudshot charges up faster, of course. And Dragon Tail does more damage. And yeah, I mean, you could go a number of different ways with the movesets. You could go Outrage and Sand Tomb. You can go Earth Power, Outrage if you want both nukes. You can go I've even seen Sand Tomb Earth Power, even though it's the same move. So, or not the same move, but it's the same type. And yeah, I mean, just a powerful moveset. To be honest, like, it really depends on the team. Like, it really depends on the team. If you're going Dragon Tail, I'd probably go with the Mudshot. So you can get, not Mudshot, Sand Tomb, so you could increase the power of Dragon Tail. But yeah, I mean, definitely a really powerful Pokemon. Then we have what I think is the best Charm user, going to be Togekiss. Togekiss is a great Pokemon. Sylveon is the next. Sylveon and Primarina are great as well, but yeah, I mean, definitely a great Pokemon. Great Charm user. Charm was nerfed this season, but it's still going to dominate. Togekiss is still going to be really good because Charm was barely nerfed. It was knocked down like 1 point, I think, but it's still really powerful. So yeah, I mean, just not much to say, just a powerful Charm user. Then we have Ursaluna. Actually, Ursaluna has Tackle. So Tackle and then High Horsepower as its Community Day move. Looking pretty good at getting to the moves pretty fast. I mean, Tackle is a good move. It was buffed last season. So yeah, I do think it has play. Of course, it's going to resist the ghost type attacks like Lick from Snorlax. So yeah, I mean, going to be doing pretty well. I think Ursaluna is going to be a lot of fun to use. I actually want to try it as well. High Horsepower against Metagross is going to do well, though, you know, they're still going to hit hard with the Metagross, right? With Meaty Mesh, but I kind of wish Ursaluna got Shadow Claw, and who knows, maybe it will in the future, but I still think Tackle is a pretty solid moveset on Ursaluna, and I think we might see it. I definitely want to build one. I do have like a few hundos, to be honest. I think I have like 3 or 4 hundos, so I'm ready to build one. So really exciting there. And then for the B tier, starting off, we have Mamoswine. Mamoswine, of course, a very powerful ice type, going to be doing well against the dragon types. Even things it does well against, it does neutral damage too. It's still going to be hitting really hard. I mean, Ursaluna is a normal and ground type, right? So the ice typing, of course, going to be super effective towards the ground typing. For Ursaluna, going to be doing well against the Togekiss if you happen to battle that. It has a lot of great play. It does neutral damage towards Gyarados, although I guess Gyarados, if they go in Waterfall and the Aqua Tails, are super effective. But no, I mean, still a good Pokemon. It has Bulldoze as another option for the Steel types like Metagross. So yeah, I mean, Mamoswine definitely a great pick. Then we have Chestnut. So this is assuming, or not assuming, but this is when Chestnut has its Frenzy Plant Community Day move. So before Community Day, I wouldn't use it, but after it gets Frenzy Plant, it is looking pretty good, I think. So yeah, I mean, definitely a really strong grass type for you if you want to run a grass type. Definitely the best one. We don't really have many grass options. I guess you could run Venusaur as a super spicy pick. Roserade maybe, but again, I think Chestnut's probably going to be the best one. And even then, like, I don't think it's like great. It's not going to dominate, but it is good as a grass type. It's gonna be up there. And then we have Machamp. So Machamp probably the best fighting type, Shadow Machamp, right? Obviously we know Counter, Crush Chop going to be really strong. Then we have kommo-o. So kommo-o, another dragon type. If you want to do something like Double Dragon with Dragonite, kommo-o is a great second option and probably the best one. Then we have Excadrill. Excadrill, of course, with the Mud Shot, Run, and the Rock Slide. It hits a lot of Pokemon. It's going to hit that Togekiss for super effective damage. The Metagross it's going to hit for super effective damage. It even hits Gyarados for super effective damage, but if they have Waterfall, they're just doing so much damage with that Gyarados, so you do have to keep that in mind. But it hits a lot of Pokemon for super effective damage, So, yeah, great Pokemon. So that's going to be the SA and B tier for you in the Master League Premier Classic. We're going to move on to the other options. We do have Avalugg. I think Avalugg is okay. I mean, if you're looking for a great Ice type with Ice Fang, definitely a really solid pick. We also have the Hisuian Avalugg on this list. It's not as good as the regular one, I don't think, but it could get up there, right? It could get up there. I think it's decent. Not the best one, but I think it's decent. Then we're moving on to Conkeldurr. So Conkeldurr is another counter user. People are probably going to opt to run Machamp over Conkeldurr, but if you're going double fighting, and we will look at a double fighting team in the solid team options, Conkeldurr and Machamp are the way to go. And I think double fighting could do well. They also, both of them have moves that hit the Togekiss, right? Rock Slide, as well as Stone Edge from Conkeldurr. So you do have play against Togekiss as well. And then moving on, we have Swampert. Swampert, another great Pokemon in the Master League Premier Classic. I think we will probably see it occasionally. I actually have a Hundo built level 40, so pretty solid Pokemon, pretty strong Pokemon. The Sludge Wave will hit the flying types like the dragons, or also the dragons like Dragonite and Kommo-o. If you want to go Sludge Wave, it'll hit the fairy types as well, though Hydro Cannon will still do a lot. Then we have Hydreigon, so Hydreigon could be another decent dragon type. I do think the Kommo-o and Dragonite are better, but if you're looking for another option, Hydreigon could be that option. It does have Dragon Breath and Brutal Swing. It also has Bite as well, but you wouldn't really use Bite, right? And then we have Sneasler. So Sneasler could be another interesting pick. It is another fighting option, but it doesn't have counter. It has Shadow Claw. Aurorus could be a spicy pick as well in the Master League Premier Classic. Of course, it does have to get to level 40, so if you're going to get one to level 40, maybe you could do it. Maybe you could use it. Is it worth the investment? Well, I don't know. Do you have a Hundo that you can get to level 40? I think it could be decent. I think Mamoswine's probably going to win in this regard because it just maxes out so high, but compared to like the other ones. But, you know, it's another option. We talked about the Hisui and Avalugg a little bit. Sylveon and Primarina we kind of talked about as well. Those are, listen, if you're going with Double Charm, it's probably going to be, I mean, you could go Sylveon and Primarina, because if you go Primarina, you're resisting the steel attacks from Metagross. Right? And of course, if you don't go Togekiss, you're not going to be weak to the Rock Slide from Excadrill, which Excadrill I think will be pretty common. But either way, I mean, if you go in Double Charm, it's either going to be 2 out of 3 of these Pokemon, right? Yeah, so just a couple other Charm users. Then we have Walrein. Walrein, I've seen a couple of times, not too often. But, you know, it could be used. Obviously, Icicle Spear is really fast and really strong. Gudra's another dragon option for you. Again, I do think we have a better dragon Pokemon, but Gudra could be a lot of fun. It has a good bait move, too. It has Muddy Water. And then we have Roserade, which could be, you know, a good poison type with Poison Jab. Also has Bullet Seed, whichever moveset you want to go with, but could be decent. And then we talked about Primarina, of course, because of Charm uses. But anyway, that's going to be the Master League Premier Classic for you. We're going to go ahead and dive right over to the solid team options. So the first team is going to be a quote-unquote double charm team. It's not actually double charm, it's double fairy. So the first one is going to be Togekiss. You could substitute that for like a Primarina if you want to take neutral damage. Or not neutral, but if you want to resist. Well, no, I guess you would take neutral. Did I say? Yeah, you do take neutral from steel types with Primarina. I think I mentioned that you resist it earlier. You don't resist it, you take neutral damage. That's my bad because it's a water and fairy type. You could go with another charm user like Primarina, but then we have Florges as well. And of course, I would say Florges is probably to lure out the steel types. If you happen to win the lead with Garchomp right into Metagross, Magnezone, something like that at Excadrill, great. If not, you lure it out with Florges. And the thing is, if they have Excadrill in the back, they're probably going to bring it into the Florges. And Florges versus Excadrill is really not that bad for Florges because you're not weak to Drill Run, you're not weak to Rock Slide, right? The only things they do resist your moves, but like the Moonblast is still going to do a good amount of damage because Excadrill is really frail. So you could lure that out. And then finish that off with Togekiss and Sweep. Finish that off with Garchomp after the Florges goes down, and then Sweep with Togekiss. Maybe you can get a shield advantage. But if you battle Double Steel, you're not gonna beat Double Steel with this team. It's very unlikely. But no, I used this team with success last season. I think it could be fun. I think it's still really strong. Okay, next up we have Togekiss in the lead, and the safe swap being Snorlax, and then Metagross as a heavy-hitting Pokemon. Of course, backline kind of weak to fighting. Metagross is not weak to fighting, but it's still taking a lot from like the counter damage from like Machamp or Conkeldurr, right? So you can lure that out with Snorlax, and if they do happen to have a fighting type, they're gonna bring it in against the Snorlax, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty strong team. Then we have another team. We have Gyarados with Ursaluna and Metagross. So yeah, I mean, similar situation to the team above, right? Obviously Ursaluna is going to be weak to fighting. Metagross is not, but it still takes a lot from the counter damage. And then Gyarados I'm liking the Waterfall attack. Dragon Breath I could see working, but Waterfall will give you better play against any fairy types that you run into. And as I mentioned, I do like the Aqua Tail and the Crunch moveset. But yeah, I mean, I think Ursalune is probably going to be a pretty good safe swap with that tackle. So switch it in. People, as of right now, might not necessarily expect it, even though I think it's really good because I feel like it... Was it available last season? Probably. I don't know if it was actually. Maybe it wasn't around last season. Maybe... I don't know, but either way, I do think it's a pretty good Pokemon. So next up, we do have Dragonite in the lead, and then Florges and Excadrill. So Florges, yeah, I mean, great Pokemon. Of course, I think Florges is a decent safe swap. Decent because like if they have a Metagross in the back, that's not great. But you know, if they happen to have a Metagross in the lead, you kind of have to stay in. Hopefully you're able to win the lead. If you're not able to win the lead, if it's like a Charm user or a Fairy type, you can go into the Florges. They're going to switch out and probably bring in their Steel type. And yeah, I mean, you go from there. But, you know, you're still doing a lot of damage with the Florges. I think this is a pretty interesting team. But you kind of do want to win the lead with a team like this. But, I mean... obviously, you know, if you do happen to have like a neutral lead and you need to invest shields, I do think it's worth investing the shield to get switch so you can win that matchup. But of course, Excadrill, I love Excadrill, going to be doing pretty well against obviously the steel types, as we know, right? Although Dragonite and Florges kind of struggle against steels. Dragonite has play because of the superpower though, and Dragon Breath is still adding up. So I'd probably go with the Shadow version of the Dragonite if you have it. So next up we have Metagross with double counter users. So I did say earlier that I wanted to see a double counter user team, a double fighting team, and I think this one does pretty well. Of course, the backline, what is it going to be? Week 2 Fairy. You could lure that out with one of the Pokemon in the back, and then Metagross obviously is going to beat the Fairy type, and then the other counter user hopefully can do well. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of Metagross. I feel like there's going to be a lot of Excadrill. I guess this team can kind of struggle against Gyarados, and Gyarados is going to be super, super common. But, you know what? I mean, Metagross still does a lot with Meteor Mash, right? And then you also have the Rock Slide or the Stone Edge on your fighting type attacks, or your fighting type Pokemon, which will threaten a shield or do a lot of damage to that Gyarados. So I do think it is pretty good team. Could be a pretty good team. If you have an option like for a better lead than Metagross, let me know. And maybe there is a better lead. Maybe Magnezone in the lead instead, because Magnezone, of course, is going to be doing well against, well, obviously the Charm users. But not only that, it's going to do well against the Gyarados. So yeah, maybe want to try this team with Magnezone in the lead. I think that could work. I actually didn't put Magnezone on the graphic, but yeah, I think Magnezone is a pretty good one as well. And then for the final team, going to be Excadrill with Gyarados and Dragonite. So if you want to give yourself some play against the fairies that might be in the back, go with the Waterfall Gyarados. Again, I am liking Waterfall Gyarados in this meta. You know, I feel like last season most of the Gyarados were running Waterfall. Was it last? I think it was last season, but either way. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So obviously the Dragon Breath is going to be worse against the Fairy types, but if you bring Gyarados, I think that's good enough to possibly lure out a Fairy type, right? Because, you know, they see that typing, they know it's a Gyarados, and then they might want to, you know, switch it into the Fairy type, which is what I've done a lot, even if they win that matchup, right? And obviously the Fairy type like Togekiss wants to avoid the Excadrill as well. But anyway, that's going to be the Master Premier Classic for you. Let me know what you think of these teams. Let me know what team you plan on trying out. Also, let me know if you plan on playing in the Master Premier Classic or the Open Master League. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.